I'm smiling because this show today is one that I was initially planning on doing about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I kept postponing it because I was having such a good time listening to the LTA Aero DAC. And that's especially interesting because this is their first DAC. So they put years into developing this design. And I gotta say, man, they nailed it right out of the box. This thing is impressive. It really is. Up front, there's 2 buttons, 2 brass buttons, one to control power and the other for input selection. Oh, and there are 3 inputs, by the way: USB, coaxial, and optical. And yeah, what's missing there? Well, I would have liked to have seen I2S and also AES-EBU, the XLR input. Those are missing in action. We just get those 3: USB, coax, and optical. This DAC is PCM only up to 192K sampling rate, 24-bit, but no DSD and no MQA. Not big losses for me, but for some of you guys, maybe. So as you can plainly see, this is a tube design. The tubes are used in the analog output stage. It is a balanced design, Class A, and DC coupled, meaning there's no capacitors in the signal path. And the tubes themselves, well, you have an option on this one. You can either use the 12SN7 or the more popular, better known tube, the 6SN7. They can be used interchangeably. In other words, you can use either set, but there's a switch on the back that you have to switch when you change the tube types. But I just used the stock tubes, which were 12SN7s. They were new old stock GE tubes. So yeah, I did not do any tube rolling over the course of this review. Oh, and by the way, those tubes are expected to last at least 10,000 hours. They do not run particularly hot. You could put your hand on them. You're not going to burn yourself if you're worried about them being exposed. Not a problem. Let's take a peek at the inside of the Aero. And now I will show you the complete specifications and note the price. The price is $3,950. The only available finish is black. LTA does not have dealers or distributors. They sell direct to consumer with a 14-day money-back guarantee. As for other countries, since they don't have distributors, they sell direct worldwide. So therefore, there's no additional margins for those distributors or dealers in other countries, which of course saves buyers of the LTA Aero a lot of money. Oh, and the LTA Aero was designed and built in Tacoma Park, Maryland. As for CD transports, I use 2. The TEAC VRDS 701T, which I just reviewed recently, link below. But the main transport for like 95% of all of my listening tests with CD was my reference, the J's Audio CDT2 Mark III. It's been in the system for a long time and nothing has come along in the years it's been here to displace it, the J's Audio transport. Great piece of machinery. That's what it feels like. It is built. For streaming Qobuz and Tidal, sometimes in high res, it was my Blue Sound Node 2i. Oh, and for the DACs, yeah, I used 2 different DACs. My reference DAC, which is the Mola Mola Tambaqui, which sells for $13,500. It's a very high-end DAC. Oh, and I do have a tube DAC in my collection, the Border Patrol DAC. But that tube is not in the signal path. That is a rectifier tube. And that DAC sells for $1,650. So that's a wide range of DACs. But anyway, the meat and potatoes of the review really was doing comparisons with the Tambaqui. My monitor speakers, yeah, the speakers I actually was listening to over the course of this review, well, there were 2. The Pure Audio Project Duet 15s, open baffle speakers, and also the Magnapan 0.7X. Now I'm working on that review. Again, I'm enjoying myself so much with the Mackies. I keep pushing that one back, but that one is coming up shortly. That is a higher resolution speaker than the Pure Audio project. So for getting into the fine details, yes, I was using the Magnepan 0.7x speakers. So now I want to talk about music, and I gotta say, this newly released album by MA Recordings, one of my favorite audiophile labels in the world. They have this new album by this group called Será Una Noche. It was recorded in Argentina in a small church in the countryside. It's original music, it's traditional Argentinian music, it's improvisations, it's a wide range of different kinds of music going on this CD. But the sound quality is, you are there. You feel like you're in that church. You're hearing not only these incredible musicians, but you're hearing the space around those musicians. You're hearing the walls. You're hearing the reflection off the wall. You're just so inside this music. And I'm doing these initial sessions, I'm talking about with the Aero DAC. And I am just so in. I am so in with this recording and the beauty of this music. Some of it is with vocals, some of it is strictly instrumentals. It's high dynamic range, beautiful tonality. It's tactile. You really feel like you could just reach out and touch these musicians. It's spine-tingling. Did I say I like this recording? Yeah, it's really, really good. So the question was raised at that point, okay, I've put this off long enough, and now I'm going to switch things around and hook up the Mola Mola Tambaqui. What will the Mola Mola bring that the Aero does not? So the answer is that the Tambaqui just gave me more high-frequency air and spaciousness. It just opened up that much more with the Tambaqui in the system. There was an enhanced sense of clarity, but it was that high-frequency stuff, and also hearing more quiet details in the music, that hearing into the sound stage. And then I was hearing more of a sense of hearing that church, hearing the acoustics of that church was better portrayed by the Tambaqui than the Aero. The transient response was also superior. That was on the percussion and the bells and metal. Yes, all of that was definitely better on the Tambaqui. The Tambaqui, by the way, is nearly $10,000 more expensive than the Aero. So, yeah. But here's the thing. When I went back to the Aero, after spending 10, 15 minutes just listening to the Tambaqui, listening to this recording with Tambaqui, when I went back to the Aero, it didn't feel like a letdown. It wasn't like, now I got to listen to this. No, it sounded really good. And the word that I came up with to describe the immediate difference going from Tambaqui to Aero was humidity. It sounded with the Aero that the air in the room, in the recording venue, was more humid. It had more, I don't know, weight to it, richness. So there was a little less of that. Yeah, you know why? Because I heard less of that transient response. And when I heard less of it, my brain associated that with there's more moisture in the air. That was the difference. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've ever heard live music in a church, unamplified music in a church, especially one in Argentina, I kind of doubt it was air conditioned. The humidity was really coming through with the Aero playing this incredibly beautiful music. Then it was time to really change things up, and I hooked up my Border Patrol DAC. Yeah, I bought this DAC maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I love it for its musicality. It is just a beautiful sounding, if not particularly high-res sounding DAC. And I'm playing this incredible music by this band I never heard of before called Blue Fashion, and they're doing a cover of the Eurythmics' Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. And I'm cranking the hell out of this music over the Pure Audio Project speakers, playing it loud and just feeling it, feeling that rhythm, feeling that energy, and I'm really digging the sound. It is a lot of fun. Okay, got that in. Okay, I got that. So I take out the Border Patrol, put in the Aero, play the track again, and it was like, oh yeah, it's no contest. The Aero is gigantically more transparent and pure. But the thing about the Aero is that it does this kind of rhythm and pace forward motion of music thing really, really well. You just feel that energy coming through the Aero. And in fact, I think the Aero does a better job of that than the Mola Mola Tambaqui does. It's just, it sounds incredibly powerful, the Aero does. It just seems to liberate that. When that energy is in the music, you get more of it with the Aero. So here's another music recommendation I urge you to check out. It's such a catchy tune by Noga Ares. I'm sort of totally mangling her name, but this song, Views. It's hipster music. It's jazzy. It's got brass, but it's just got this groove to it. It's acoustic. Yeah, it's mostly acoustic music, but it just moves. And there's something about the lyrics. I don't want to get into what this song actually means right now, but I urge you to just stream it somehow or somewhere and see what you think of this music. And anyway, I'm playing this with the Aero, and yet it was that thing of the forward motion of this music. It makes it so powerful and irresistible. You just are drawn into the music because you feel the musicians' enthusiasm, their energy is coming through so well. That's what really makes the Aero special. It somehow does that. I don't know, maybe there's no other DAC I've ever heard in this room that did it like this one. It is exceptional in that regard. You know, the Noga Ares track is contemporary music. It's now. But if you're of a certain age, well, let's say any age relatively close to my age, you might have fond memories of the Righteous Brothers. I certainly do. But this track, Summertime, they're doing Summertime, I don't think I've ever heard this before. It is so good. It just builds and builds and builds. It's almost like river deep, mountain high levels of building. It's so good. I mean, again, I was listening with the Aero and just reveling in how good a recording can sound from more than 50 years ago. And yeah, I'm getting that, getting the chills just thinking about how good it can be. So yes, if were ever a Righteous Brothers fan, or even if you're not, check out their version of Summertime. I am so ready for, so Steve, what do you really think of the LTA Aero DAC? I dig it. You already know that though, right? But here's the thing. Yeah, I wish it had an I2S input. I wish it had a balanced AES-EBU input. I really do. Those, for a $4,000 DAC, they should be there. And for some of you, not me, you might wish it had DSD and or MQA. Yes, I get it, right? But it doesn't have those things. So if you can get past that, if you can forgive those omissions, if you could find it in your heart to forgive those omissions, and I made you curious about how incredible this DAC is, it is well worth your consideration. It truly is. And with that out of the way, yeah, let's do it. The audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Hey, these handsome pictures come to us from Simon. He lives in Cambridge in the UK. Now, his speakers are Closer Acoustics OGY transmission lines, and they also have OGY 12-inch open baffle woofers. Speaker cables are Tellurium Q Black 2s. The headphone amplifier is a Cayenne HA300 Mark II. The amplifier for the speakers is a Pisvane Acme 300B with Mullard NOS ECC 33 tubes. So there are two turntables. The first one is the Riga P10 which has an Audio Mods Series 6 tone arm and a Hana Umami Blue cartridge. Phono preamp, Sutherland 2020. Now the second turntable is really just for barn finds and playing 78s, and that's a Lenco L75 in a Goldman's plinth. Cartridge is a Shure M75ED in a custom wood casing. The phono preamp for that system is a Musical Fidelity V90 LPS, and that has a linear power supply. CD transport and DAC, well, the name CD5XS is the transport. The DAC is the chord cutest, and it also has MCRU ultralinear power supply. Thank you, Simon. That's a beautiful system. All right, we're back. And I have a special announcement about my Patreon. And that is that I'm now starting to make exclusive content just for my patrons. That is a new thing, a new feature. And they're short videos. It's not like the regular videos I post here on YouTube channel. But these short pieces that I'm putting on Patreon now are just for patrons. These videos will never appear on YouTube. So if that's made you a little bit curious, here's what you do. Check out the website for Patreon, and the address is on the screen right now. They take payment in dollars, pounds, euros, and pretty much any currency in the known universe. So think it over. I would really appreciate it if you helped support this channel. And that's it. That's all I got for today. So thank you again for watching. I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.